Hello, I'm Reginald Bullock, and
My name is Trey Wilder, and on today's show, this is called Just Living. It's the first episode called The Pilot. I like it. I like it. Reggie, how's everything with you, man?
man, I'm living good. I'm just living.
Nah, I appreciate that. That's how I'm living too. It's been a long weekend, though. It's been a long week, long weekend. I feel like coming up, as I'm glad to just feel like I've been learning lessons throughout this whole week, and I feel like
Number one lesson you learned:
I guess sympathy and empathy.
empathy and empathy.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I know. Because I haven't necessarily been in someone's shoes recently,
Okay.
but they were going through something. But I've also been in something a little similar because it's like family related.
So,
So,
what's the thing that somebody was going
so long story short, they didn't necessarily get kicked out, right?
kicked out of what?
Of their house.
School?
No, of their place, of their
Okay.
house, of their house. And so it was like a little family ordeal that they had. But he didn't feel like he had a. Well, I guess he felt like he had a place to go, but he was just asking around and stuff like that. I offered my place to him for a couple days. And
Did he stay at your house?
yeah, he stayed in my house. Stayed in my house. He brought his dog with him too.
Have you ever had a dog in your house before?
I've had one. I've had one. It was
So,
an interesting time.
the dog in your house
It was
as a unexpected guest.
it was an interesting time. I gotta say, like he didn't bark except for one time, but that was at the owner, and he got him a little riled up.
Business on the floor ever?
No, he didn't.
That's
Like
good.
he auditioned
Big
really
dog,
well.
little dog.
Big dog came a little almost to the hip, and my normal thing is if you come past the hip, we got problems.
Right.
So like he almost
You
came
can
past
ride
the hip.
that like a horse.
Exactly. Like nah, I'm good off there. But he auditioned real well. He was a chill dog, and he almost made me think about getting one myself. So I was like,
Okay.
yeah. So it wasn't that bad. But like it added extra time to my week. Like even just yesterday,
And your feng shui.
yeah, yeah, because like I now I gotta feel like I gotta vacuum up again. I gotta wash my sheets. Like he was shedding a little bit. It wasn't aggressive, but still, it just messed up the week a little bit. Not messed up, but that might be the wrong word. It threw it off enough.
So here's the deal, right? So many people go through that.
Mhm.
Young, old, where they have to find some place to stay.
Mhm.
Regardless whether you're kicked out or whether you got evicted or whether you graduated from college and you have no clue what's next. So you're out of your dorm room, right?
Exactly.
You're out of your living quarters when you were in college, or you move from one location to another. So how do you anticipate that to prepare for that? So you're not in a situation at the last minute where you contacting a friend and say, "Hey, yo, I need a couch," because how old are you?
31.
31. So think
Okay.
about it, right? Your age group goes through that
Yeah.
on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And fortunately, you were able to help this person out.
Mm.
So how often does this kind of thing happen?
That situation doesn't happen that often. Like, I mean, maybe someone needs to crash because they're in DC or something like that.
Right.
But that situation doesn't happen often. It was like I've been asked about, can I borrow money? That happens a little more often.
Right.
But yeah, like to just get a place to stay for a couple days like that, not often. And
Initially,
initially,
had somebody stay here for over a year and a half. It started off because of COVID,
okay, okay.
and he was here in April,
Mhm.
and it was basically, for a few months, and then a few more months, and then a year later, and a year and a half. So
That's crazy.
that was unexpected. But I also think sometimes it's good to be in a position to help other people.
Yeah.
It's good to be in the position where, how you say, there but go I, the grace of God, right? And so we're fortunate to have what we have,
Mhm.
and we're not in that situation today.
Exactly.
But any one of us,
Be in that
I don't care
situation.
who you are, how high you are, how much money you have, how successful you are,
Mhm.
at any given time, it could be you.
Yeah. And so I'm curious about this, right? Because I was thinking about this for a little bit. Does it make you selfish thinking like that as opposed to just saying, "Hey, I want to help someone out." Like there's a part of me that says, like you, I could be in this situation tomorrow. Like
Right.
anything could happen. You never know.
Right.
So is it selfish to think like that? Although you're mainly trying to help folks out.
So it's not selfish, right?
Okay.
Because it's not even about you. You put the work in,
Right.
you've gone to school, you put your resume, you interviewed, you got a job, you're doing all this stuff on your position description, and you're getting paid.
Mhm.
There's nothing selfish about being successful.
Okay.
There's nothing selfish about achieving in that respect. So the fact that you had it
Mm.
and they don't have what you have, that's not selfish. That's just you have what they don't have.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
kind of like, if I had two sandwiches
Mhm.
and you don't have a sandwich, you give you one.
Yeah.
There's nothing selfish about that. If anything, it's generous.
Okay.
And so, no, I wouldn't look at it as selfish at all, man. I mean, you're blessed.
Mm.
You're blessed. So you're sharing your blessings.
Right.
Why would you think it's selfish?
Because I think it's not like all right, this is a reserve or this is something I'm trying to like hold on to later on in life. Because again, like I'm in a solid situation right now.
Mhm.
What happens 6 months from now? Something happens now, so I'm not in that same solid situation.
Right.
But I'm doing stuff to help people out now. It's like a like a small part of me, I feel like in the back of my head is saying, well, if you're doing it for people now, it might come back to you later on. And but it's not that's not what's driving me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like something you pick up. Like if you do good things for people in general, hopefully good things come back to you.
And
So
that's not selfish, man. To be able to have the mindset of, I want to do for somebody else that which I hope they would do for me.
mhm.
That's just living life, man.
Okay,
That's
okay,
just living life,
okay,
you know. Yeah. So I wouldn't put too much energy into that part
okay,
versus the fact that you did the seed and harvest.
right,
You reaping what you sowed,
yeah,
and therefore you sowed a lot of good seeds, and now you're harvesting from that.
mhm,
Some of it you store up for later,
yeah,
just in case.
right.
6 months from now, stuff happens. You can go and get some of that harvest
It does.
and maintain yourself and bridge yourself, you know, for a little while until you get more harvesting.
Yeah. Now, on that harvesting part that you're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this actually might be a decent little transition
Go ahead.
onto the topic, right?
Go ahead.
So I feel like harvesting is that hustle, or is that more so just planning? Like how would you classify that? And the reason why I say that is when I think hustle, again, we talked about a little bit going above and beyond, right? Essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So it's hard. Would you classify harvesting as being a going above and beyond, being that hustle? 'Cause, I mean, you still need to eat, you still need to live. So, like, what's your thoughts on that?
So the short answer is no,
Okay.
because harvesting is the hustle has already been done,
Mm,
and now you're getting the harvest. It's like I got out there and hustled and did everything I needed to do,
right.
and now I just got paid.
Okay.
Getting paid is not the hustle.
So the harvesting, when you say that, it's the getting paid aspect. It's the results. It's not the.
Yes, it's the result.
Okay. Okay. So when you were saying harvesting, I was thinking you meant like going out, getting the food, gathering it together, stuff like that. I thought that's what you meant by like harvesting. I guess
That
that's
that part is gathering is harvesting
okay.
because you
Okay.
can't gather nothing if it's not there.
Yeah.
You can't bring it back if it's not there.
Right.
So all of that is still harvesting.
Okay.
But let's take it back to the farm, right?
Mhm.
Somebody's got to clear the field.
Right.
Then you got to plow the field. Then you got to plant the seeds.
Mhm.
Then you got to water it. Then you got to take the weeds out.
Mhm.
And then you got to balance the whole element of it being too dry or too wet.
Right.
And then you got to watch it. Now, this could go on for 3, 4, 5 months. Meanwhile, you still got to wash the dishes, get the kids to school, cook,
Yeah.
clean,
Yeah. Like.
maybe still go to another job and a third job. And then you got to clean the car.
Okay.
And if you're on a farm, you got to deal with the snakes and animals and bugs and everything. So all of this stuff that you're doing in your 1,440 minutes per day, your 24 hours, you hustling. And then you got to get back out there and make sure your crops are still doing. Then as it's growing, you got to make sure the bugs don't eat it. You got to make sure the rabbits and the other animals don't, and the deer don't eat it, because they start eating it while they're too young. So now you're out there chasing all of these things away, right?
Right.
All of this stuff, so that 4, 5, 6 months later, you're harvesting. You're reaping what you sowed. So you were hustling.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So that's one form of hustling from a agricultural standpoint.
Okay. Okay. Now I'm realizing actually we might have done the fans a disservice, the viewers a disservice. I think we just started talking about hustle, right? And that was on me.
That we do the viewers.
Well,
Sorry about that.
yeah, I'm about to say I don't think we did. That's my bad. I led us that way. I apologize. I think we might have did them a disservice we started talking about what hustle is, right?
Okay.
But we didn't give our own personal definition. So I apologize in advance. And the reason why I say I apologize is because, and I got to give you, context. I initially called Reggie an SME and like, hustle and all these other topics, but he said that was too lowballing him. So I apologize. He's a master at the field, at the craft. So I wanted to make sure we took the time to put you on spot and give you
I'm
give
gonna
your
put you on the
definition.
spot
Oh yeah, yeah,
because you said we at
oh
the
yeah, yeah. I'm
time.
gonna give mine. I'm gonna give mine.
What is your personal definition of hustle?
My definition might have slightly changed a little bit from the last time we talked. But when I thought of hustle, I thought of just somebody who in the day is working hard. But anybody can work hard. I think it's about having that plan, follow through, plus the working hard aspect. You don't. It's nice to work efficiently, but at the end of the day, as long as you're getting the job done, um, that's that hustle, going above and beyond what the norm needs, or even what your quote unquote standard is. Uh,
You tired,
I
you
think
sleepy,
that's
your
your norm now. That's your norm.
stomach hurt, and all you want to do is just go lay down.
That's your norm though. Like for example, I think I went at least as of recently. So like last night I didn't go to bed till like 12:30. That wasn't because I was out late or anything like that. Again, I told you I had a friend who needed help,
Right.
so he had to go drop off his dog, and he had a basketball game and all this other stuff. So it impeded on my time.
Mhm.
But I told you I was gonna be here around a certain time. I'm gonna try to get here before 8 o'clock. This, that, and the third. So I barely made it. I got 15 minutes. You know what I mean? But hey, before is before. That's all I'm saying. But I think you gotta note, okay, this is what you want to do. This is something you gotta do. How do you get it done?
Right.
And there's no excuses. So like today, like I said, I wanted to get here before 8 o'clock. I got here at 7:45. So if I got here after 8, that's not really hustling. That's me making excuses. That's me saying I'm not taking this seriously. That's me pretty much slapping you in the face because I mean you didn't have to help out. So it's like to me, I think hustle is just going above and beyond, taking the, I guess, right steps to make sure you're using your time effectively and getting the job done end of day. How about yourself though? Because I was trying to start with you, but I guess they say you got to save the best for last. So let's see how this definition goes.
So hustling. Uh, Back in the 60s and the 70s, you had a lot of folks out there who couldn't find a job.
Hmm.
You know, the segregation and the racism and all of that had kind of made the landscape to the point that most black people
Hmm.
could not go and get an executive job. Hell, they couldn't even get municipal service jobs.
Hmm.
And at the best they could get was like farm work or factory work, like labor stuff, right?
Right.
So how you gonna buy a Cadillac, a nice house, television, and get your family nice things and send them to college if you don't have no money?
Hmm.
So if you don't have no money and you don't have a good job that's gonna pay that money, then how are you ever going to get out of that rat race to be able to pay for the things that you need to pay for to take care of your family?
Yep.
You get your hustle on. So back then, a lot of people are familiar with the movies where you had pimps, prostitutes, drug dealers, gangsters, folks running numbers,
Mhm.
speakeasies. All of those things generated revenue.
Right.
So, to one extent, that's a business.
Right.
Now, how do you run your business to get revenue is where the hustle starts.
Hmm.
Right. So, if you know Miss Mary had a water ice stand and was selling sandwiches and whatnot on her front porch in Philadelphia, everybody knew she was there.
Hmm.
So if you wanted pretzel, water ice, or sandwich, or whatever, you go down the street, up them steps. Miss Mary sitting out there, and you buy what she getting her hustle on.
Right.
My mother was a seamstress,
Mhm.
in addition to other stuff she did. But she was making clothes for people, hemming pants for everybody. She getting a hustle on.
Yeah.
She did taxes during tax season. She getting a hustle on.
Exactly.
I had a window washing company, right?
Hmm.
And I sewed, and I was a DJ, and I was a landscaper, and I cut grass, and I did all of that stuff so that I got my hustle on. So at 10 years old, 12 and 14, I had revenue every week,
Right.
to get the hustle.
Right.
So now you translate that to now. right? Kobe Bryant got up at 3:30 in the morning. He's in the gym.
Mhm.
Why? He's already good.
Yep, he must be great.
He wants to be great. So what does it take to be great? You got to get your hustle on. And it's kind of like the difference between winners and losers. And I don't want to conflate winners with hustling.
Mhm.
But the difference between winners and losers are that winners are willing to do the things losers just don't want to do.
They get that extra effort.
Same thing with hustling, right? If you want to, I carry 21 credits a semester while married with 2 children and Air Force recruiter and running 2 businesses, home improvement and DJing. That's hustling.
Yeah, that's tough.
That's hustling. So when I say it's all about the hustle, it's a mindset.
Yeah.
My mindset is I'm gonna get mine.
Right.
But why am I gonna get it? Right? And it's not selfishness.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
back in the day we used to say baby need new shoes because we
Yeah.
can't afford shoes.
Right.
So I'm working hard to get my baby some new shoes.
Right.
And so now people trying to send their children to college.
Mhm.
You know, buy some whatever they want to buy, right?
Mhm.
And in order to do that, you gotta hustle. You can't just sit back and watch Monday night, Sunday night football and basketball games and just chill and expect to have the revenue that you need to take care of your family.
Right.
You have to turn that television off, or as we say, get off the couch, you slouch, and get out there and get your hustle on.
Yeah.
Now, some people don't have a hustle.
How
So,
is that fixable to you? Or not
definitely
fixable? Is that easily fixable?
It depends on their mindset.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the short answer is maybe, it could be, it should be.
Should be.
But if they are in their own way, because I have so many people that I offer opportunities to, I don't want to do that. You don't know, man. You know, I'm like, yo, dude, rake my yard, I'll give you $100. Nah, man, I ain't getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning. Oh, really? You don't have no money.
You don't need
You
that.
put out there that you need some money. I'm gonna pay you $100 to do an honest day's work to just rake my yard, maybe even feed you.
I was about to say, you might get a meal.
And mentor you and everything else. And your lazy ass is saying no. So to that point, it's not easy because they're in their own way. Mm-hmm. They don't have the right mindset. Okay. They don't have a hustler's mindset. A real hustler would have said, I'll be there at 7, I'll be there at 6 if you need me to be. And what else do you need me to do?
Right, just extra cash.
You need me to do some painting. You need me to do your yard. You need me to help you with anything else. What else you need, Reg? I got you. That's a hustler. Yeah. Now, I will say this. Somebody did take me up on that job. This particular person was an Air Force colonel who happened to have nothing else to do for about 6 hours on a Saturday. Called me up, showed up at 7 a.m., knocked out all of the leaves and everything faster than I thought it would be done. And he said, what else you need? I was like, you know how to power wash? He said, sure. Pulled my power wash out, and he started power washing. I gave him $100. He didn't necessarily need it. Right. But he got his hustle on. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. The difference between a hustler and a person who's not, and is it easy to change?
Okay. Okay. See, I sometimes I used to question like, all right, where do I land? Right? I know we talked about hustler versus being lazy, and we talked about how like lazy might not be the proper term for like the I guess opposite version of hustler, but I used to think, I guess, what can I do to get money? Like, what can I do to make sure I'm,
That's a good question that many people probably have every day. What can I do to get money?
Yeah, right. And it was frustrating too because even as an adult, like a couple of years ago, I have a full paying job. Like I'm an FTE, and I wanted to quit.
FTE stands for full time
employee.
equivalent.
Full time what?
Sometimes full time.
Oh, full time equivalent. Yeah, that's true. Okay. Well, see, I'm looking and I'm like, I don't like my situation. Right. Like I need to have something different. I need to have, but I'm just bogged down on myself. I'm like, I don't know what it is. Like, so I try to find other avenues. I did DoorDash, Uber Eats.
Okay.
And I'm like,
getting a hustle on.
That's good. Hey, listen.
DoorDash, Uber, Lyft, all of those different types of skills, if you will, are forms of hustle.
And see, it gave me like a sense of fulfillment when I did those jobs.
Right.
Like one, I got to network, met some interesting people,
Oh,
but then two, I actually saw and got to appreciate a little bit more my job. Like what I'm doing now, I realize I can do my current job
yeah.
and do this stuff.
Now you're starting to figure out how to get your hustle.
You know, like because back in the day, I think my middle school days, I'm a kid. You know, our backgrounds are different, so I didn't necessarily have to work.
Yeah, your background is you come from a privileged family. You had a mother and a father,
Right.
nice house. You probably had at least 2 cars, and you knew you were going to be able to eat every day.
Give or take.
Yeah, I came from the
Give
projects.
or take. But see, my dad also came from that background of like the
Oh, I know your
project.
dad.
So like I think he was trying to make sure I had the lifestyle that I had. But sometimes in growing up, you also kind of realize, okay, well, I can make money doing this, that, and third. So I remember in school one time, middle school, I'm selling candy. Like I'm a couple cents, mind you, go to the dollar store, get a whole bunch for like a
I
dollar.
did that.
Yeah.
I put high school kids in business
Mhm.
doing just that.
Yeah. And then my parents had like their own entertainment business. So like,
Mhm.
we were actually in plays and stuff. Like and we rented out the CNU stadium one time and like I'm selling out candy
Okay.
to the people who are coming
Right.
in. I'm acting in the play, but I'm also selling candy. And I got my cousins on standby.
550.
Trying to get the hustle on. Trying to get the hustle on.
That's how Jackson started.
Yeah,
The hustle.
I want to say I might have got detention too for that selling candy in school.
I
Yeah.
had a kid that got in trouble with the principal for doing that. He called me up. He said, the principal told me I can't sell candy no more.
Yeah.
I went to the school. I talked to the principal. I said, look, I'm the one that got him doing it.
Right.
So don't make him, pay for that mistake. He did it because I said do it.
Right.
I said, the reason why is because his family's poor. They're on welfare. And they're dealing with, government subsidies.
Yeah.
And this is the only way he knows how to make money as opposed to selling drugs
Right.
and doing all the other stuff. And he was like, I tell you what, he can sell candy before school.
Mm-hmm.
He can sell candy after school. And he can even sell candy, during, I think, lunchtime.
Okay, that makes sense.
But he can't be walking the hall all the time selling candy. And so we came up with a rule structure. And I told him, I said, look, get to school an hour early and just sell it out, and after school, if you have some left, sell it. But follow the principal's rules.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, by the way, every once in a while, stop by the principal's office and try to sell him a candy so he can see that you're an honest person getting your hustle on.
Right.
So that's kind of how that ended up. It was in St. Louis
in
1990.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I was born in 92, so it just shows you the game don't change.
No.
It's just the people. I mean,
right.
Yeah. So if you find anybody, let me ask you this: who inspired you to become more of a hustler? Because I'll say there have been people who in my life I've looked at and it's like, you know what, I like what they have, I like how they are, I like how they move. So that's pushed me like, okay, well, I can't do this. Would Reggie say that? I can't do this. Would this person say that? You know what I'm saying? So like, who motivated you to be more of a hustler?
I think I got my first hustle on 1963, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1968.
Okay.
I was 5, 6 years old. And my cousin came to visit my mother, and he had a really nice car. And he said, hey, Reg, why don't you go wash my windows? Because my mother was washing windows in the house with vinegar and newspaper, right? We take a bucket of water, put some vinegar in there, put some water in there, and then you splash it on and you use the newspaper to clean it off because we had no money. So I did that and went out to his car and cleaned his windows real good. And he gave me 25 cents. I thought he was going to give me a nickel.
Okay.
That's going rate. He gave me 25 cents. Now he had a hustle that I don't want to talk about. Okay. But the point is he could afford it, right? So at that point, I'm like, whoa, I just did a service and got a coin. I got hooked. So I started coming up with ideas and doing things. And anytime somebody ever presented an opportunity for me to do services for money, cut grass, rake leaves, do whatever, clean up. I don't care, clean up the trash, you name it. I did it.
Right.
So I was self motivated.
Okay. Okay.
But there are times when you come across somebody and you see their hustle,
Right.
and you look at it and you admire it. You're like, okay. And it's even now, right? Like the rappers and the hip hop community, they got really nice watches and gold and chains and Louis Vuitton and all kinds of designer stuff and nice car, nice house, and they're looking good, right? And you see that and you want that, and you see what they do to get that, and you're like, I want to do what they do in order to get that.
Exactly.
Because if this person's a rap artist and they making $10 million a year and living like that, and he talking about buying his mama house, I want to do that. So I'm gonna be a rap artist. If this person's a singer or a painter or a doctor or a lawyer or a military officer or a pilot or whatever, and you are exposed to their environment and you see what they have and you want what they have, then you want to do what they do.
Right.
So that kind of happened throughout my life, and it still does, where I come across people and I admire what they're doing, their craft.
Right.
And they're using their craft to achieve, and it turns into revenue. And so, all right, how do I do that?
Right.
And therein lies where I've actually mastered so many things, because it's a driving force that I have got to get good at this thing. Because if I get good at this thing, I'm gonna make some money. And so now I'm gonna get good at this thing, and then you get good, and like, I made some money. Yeah, I'm getting my hustle on. But what else can I get good?
Right. Yeah. Like, I know in terms of like for example, my sports show, right?
What's the name of your sports show?
It's called Get a Bucket Podcast. Something light, something slight. It's one of your. It's not really one of. It's your favorite show's favorite show. But not like I know that like in terms of hustle versus like expectation of revenue. Right now, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm hustling as much as I could be on that show, but it's from an execution standpoint. I'm thinking constantly about what I want to do with the show. Even last night, I'm recording from like 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock.
You're performing tasks.
Right.
You're working.
Trying to map out that plan.
You're doing the activities.
The harvesting, if you will.
The planting of the seeds.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not necessarily hustling from a revenue perspective. So you could still be hustling and it doesn't translate into revenue.
Right.
Although it could. So hustling has various layers of understanding and definition. Years ago, it was definitely all about the revenue. But here in 2023, hustling has morphed into multiple different definitions of hustling. For instance, basketball. A person, fast break, ball goes down, he sees the ball, somebody else sees the ball, opposing team, and they're both running after that ball. One gets there first and then takes off down and slams it. That person hustled.
Okay. It's about the effort that you give. Yeah.
Yeah. That person hustled.
Okay.
Because it's the fourth quarter and they're exhausted, already got bumped and bruised, maybe even have a slightly sprained ankle and it's taped up.
Now, see, that sounds like a little too much hustle. So let me ask you this: can you hustle too much? Like, is there like what would be your threshold for hustling too much? Because you got to get yours end of day. Hustling does come with a certain type of need sometimes.
Yeah.
But there also are situations where you are hustling without need.
Right.
So, I mean, is there such a thing as too much hustle? Because we do talk about things like work-life balance.
Probably.
Okay.
But it's different for everybody. Right. So what's your capacity? What's your stamina? What's your energy level? What's your physiological, mental, spiritual makeup?
Right.
Right. So what can you handle? Now, that's different for everybody. But I do believe that you can get too much hustle on if that becomes your only focus and you're driven by that and you don't have balance.
Okay.
And most hustlers do find themselves in that situation from time to time where you're so driven, so focused that you're tunnel vision on getting that thing. Okay. And all of that other stuff that you're responsible for and need to do goes to the side. I do it deliberately from time to time. because I have so many different things that I'm involved. Like I'm writing a book,
Mhm.
then there's a lot of stuff I can't do
Mhm.
because it will distract me from writing the book.
Right.
If I'm down here DJing and getting it in and preparing for a party or whatever, I ain't worrying about cleaning this place up and make it look good because the 10 hours that I could be cleaning this place up, I could be putting in to get prepared for a gig.
Right.
So there's a balancing act. When you're in school, and you're studying, it's December.
Mhm.
You got finals coming up. All right. You may not iron your clothes. You may not take a shower 3 times a day, right? You may only eat pizza instead of a balanced meal,
Mhm.
and you're not necessarily going out and hanging out, haven't seen your honey. You know what I mean?
It's spare sometimes.
Right. And so therefore, there's a lot of things that's going to go by the wayside
Right.
when you're getting your hustle on.
That's fair.
But then you got to balance it the other way at some point, or else, yeah, it can be too much hustle.
Okay. Okay. Nah, it's like I think sometimes in terms of that hustle piece, like too much hustle, I feel like it's just about planning. I don't know. Like if you plan out your day, yeah, life throws you some monkey wrenches, right? Like again, I didn't expect my friend to ask, can he crash for a little bit? But if you're planning properly, you can I guess maneuver those monkey wrenches quite well. So it allows you to hustle and balance out what would be hustling too much. Like if I feel like I'm overexerting myself, I'm about to sit down and relax. I'm about to throw on a nice little basketball game, maybe a little WNBA, something slight, but you got to find that balance like you're talking about because you can't overexert yourself. You can't burn yourself out.
Mhm.
I think once you do that, you make yourself less useful. Like if you're gonna hustle, do it right. Like with anything, I don't think that's really too smart.
I wouldn't say
Jealous.
hustle in moderation.
You wouldn't say hustle in moderation.
No,
Hustle. So what would you say then? Hustle
I
until
think
you.
that's the opposite. If you're doing moderation,
Uh-huh.
that ain't hustle.
Okay.
Hustling
Okay.
is extreme.
Okay. Okay. So it's either you hustling or you not. There's no layers to hustling. There's no
There's
level.
layers, but hustling has a purpose.
Hmm.
Because in the real game of hustling, if you don't hustle, you don't eat.
Right. That's fair.
So how you gonna moderate whether you eat or not? You may stop hustling for a few minutes or a few
Yeah.
hours,
You gotta always eat.
but you gotta always eat.
Yeah.
And therein lies the true um, drive and motivation of hustling.
Okay. Okay.
You trying to eat,
Right.
trying to feed your family.
Yeah. No, that is true. That is
Kobe
true.
Bryant got up at 3 a.m. not just because he wanted to be the greatest, but he wanted to take care of his family.
Yeah.
That's it. He ain't had no other job. He's a basketball player. And so at what point are you going to get injured and you can't play ball no more? I bet you Tiger Woods thought he was going to be playing golf like Jack Nicholson and the rest of them forever, no problem, into his 70s. He had no clue that he was going to have a physical impact.
Yeah.
And those things happen.
Yeah. And the mental one too.
Right.
'Cause I bet say we can't slip. Yeah.
Right. So
Well, I wasn't talking about that. His family situation too.
Yes.
That weighed on him heavily too. So I mean, yeah.
So to that end, right, you hustle because you never know
Yeah.
when that monkey wrench is going to get thrown in there and you're not able to do that hustle anymore.
Thanks. Okay. Okay. Side note, I'm just curious because we were talking about Tiger there. His comeback, right? Like, would you classify Tiger as a hustler?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Well, because hustle also is a work ethic.
Right.
And that work ethic goes to your discipline.
Hmm.
So work ethic, discipline are all traits required to be a hustler.
Right.
You can't be a hustler if you're not disciplined. You can't be a hustler if you don't have a work ethic.
Pretty strong.
So he got out there and he hustled because he wanted to not just come back,
Hmm.
but he wanted to be able to make his money. Golf is his money.
Yeah.
Granted, he a millionaire.
I'm about to say he might not have to though.
That's in our eyes.
Yeah, we don't know his pockets like that. He got a lot.
And he has a lot of money, but in his mind, it's like, okay, when this thing stops, my revenue stream decreases.
Mhm.
Who wants their revenue stream to decrease?
You're not really the biggest fan of that.
Right.
Right.
So he human like the rest of us.
Right.
He out there getting his hustle on.
He likes
So,
his life.
so what? He's gonna make an extra 10 million. All right. He may be helping a lot of people.
Mhm.
So it's one thing to have 10, 20, $100 million and you got a house like mine, right? And everything's paid for, and you're good, and it's just you.
Yeah, you can make something work with that.
But Oprah's a billionaire that takes care of children in Africa.
Yeah.
For their whole life.
Yeah.
From a young age through high school, through college, that costs money.
It does.
We can't afford it. So she's not making money now just for herself. He's not making money now he's got all kinds of foundations and things like that, right? So many of these multimillionaire folks out there, they're not selfishly millionaires to the point that all of their money is their money.
Yeah.
They're helping a lot of people. And if they stop making that money, then they got to decide who are they not going to help. And if they don't help those people, then now those people don't have what they need.
Right.
It's just like I said, back to hustling, you trying to make this money to feed your family. Well, if your family happens to be 10,000 people.
I say family is it's not always blood. Sometimes.
James has a school. How much money, what's the budget out of his pocket to make sure that thing happens every single year without fail? Right. We don't know. But I know one thing, it's a lot. And does he know when that revenue stream is going to stop that's able to fund that? No. So he's going to just keep hustling hard because he's not going to let the little babies down.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's a mindset, right? And we're not raised in that environment. We're not raised in that culture. I've never been a millionaire, so I don't know what that feels like. Right. I never had my own airplane and my own boat, although I know some people with it and been on them. It's a mindset because they're hustling. Like Thomas Moorhead, right? Millionaire many times over. Why did he hustle so hard? Well, he was able to donate money to Camp Kappa and all these other things.
Yeah.
We weren't. So without him, we wouldn't have had that.
Right.
And he didn't need to do that.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And if he didn't get his hustle on, he wouldn't get.
Okay. Now I respect that. Do you think, not necessarily trying to transition?
You can transition. It's our show.
I was say not. That's what I said. Not necessarily trying to, because I did like the conversation.
It's our show.
We can always toggle back and forth between this. But I was curious though, because
by the way, speaking of transition, audience that's listening, this right here was supposed to be a 10-minute test pilot to make sure that the cameras work, the lighting was good, the sound is right. And we're not even dressed technically. We got clothes that we're supposed to change in and get dressed and look good on camera and be all professional as we do. But the title of this is Just Living.
Yep.
And Trey and I do this anyway, right? We do this last week. We went fishing. And so we started talking about a pilot and we started talking about just things. And what came up was, I'm always saying, how you doing, Reginald? I'm just living, man.
Right.
I'm just living. And that's how this came up.
Right.
And so the organic element of how whatever it is you may see once he edits this really is just living, because we didn't plan this. Everything, he's got scripts, he's got topics, he's got bullet points and talking points, and we have not used any of that yet. We just got into it just to do a little test, and here we now have an episode.
Like most of the time when I'm looking down, ladies and gentlemen, it's at the computer, not really my notes. Like I did make sure I was like, what was that other topic we talked about? Okay, yeah. But it's been genuine conversation. That's been the best thing about it, because it's two people, different ages, different backgrounds, coming together, just socializing. Like just this morning, I got more motivated now for like other stuff.
Okay.
Right. So it is just having these sort of like topics, like, okay, what's a hustler to you? Like, what's intelligence? Like all these different things you can talk about, you can think about, and you get different perspectives. So that's what we wanted to make sure we did with you guys, just share our thoughts, our opinions, and most importantly, just be genuine. I think a lot of times things like it looks scripted. It looks a little too fake. And like you said, like, bro, I was supposed to have on a whole jersey. Like, hey, I had everything situated. Nah, like we just rolling.
I'm not even supposed to be in short pants with flip flops. This is what I woke up to put on. At least I took a shower. You know?
Took it out.
Yeah, but that's real. So you wanted to transition.
Yeah.
But before you transition, what do you think would be a good purpose statement for this particular show that we're doing,
Ooh.
Just Living?
Purpose statement. If I had to say anything,
and it would be for the audience. It's like, what do we want the audience to receive from this? You know, it's not just why we're doing it, but what's the so what now? What I always say that. So what we did this.
mm-hmm.
So what we're on camera. So what we talking about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now what?
Yeah.
And the now what is not for us. It's for them. So that there's value behind what we're saying, and therefore they're able to use what we're saying for the now what to execute or to do. So what do you think?
I would say our purpose, our so what, now what. Every day we're always going through life, and I feel like one thing that's certain is we don't know what we're really doing. Like this is just play. Like you have ideas, you have thoughts. So I feel like this platform helps showcase, hey, this is how some people genuinely think. You get different age groups. Like I said, I'm in my 30s. Reggie, you in your 50s, 60s. Like
61.
So you get different mindsets, different thought processes that you can apply to yourself, or whether it's your kids, or whether it's your nieces and nephews, uncles and aunts, whatever the case may be. You can at least see how somebody different from you thinks, and not only how they think, but how what their thoughts appear to be might apply to your life. And our topics, you can also think about yourself, not from our lives, but from yours. So that's the essential purpose, trying to understand this thing called life and just living it. And our lives are clearly different from yours and vice versa, but we can at least assess our own lives and say, hey, this is what I want to do. Again, Kobe Bryant, Tiger Woods, in terms of hustling, you might look at them and say, hey, I want to be like that. But the more you study them, you might not want to get up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I love Kobe. Like Kobe is one of my guys. I never met him. I promise you, I would not be waking up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to go. So like, but I appreciate that sort of thing. So just learning from someone else's life and applying it to yours. I think that's really the main purpose of this show. And I mean, I can speak for myself. I don't know everything. So I mean, if you guys also feel and hear a topic that we shared and you say, hey, I differ on that opinion, I would greatly appreciate it. I think Reggie shares that same sentiment because we don't know everything.
Right.
So that's the main purpose. It's really kind of building a community if you think about it. Like it takes a village.
I think so. I think first of all, thank you for articulating that purpose because I think it's needed. And sometimes people just want to know, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And what am I going to get out of it?
Exactly.
And you said the word genuine. You and I have had conversations for a few years, and all of our conversations between Trey and I are like this, like literally. All of our conversations are like this. And I've had these conversations with other people, and it seems to be helpful. Mm-hmm. So why should Trey and I have conversation where I benefit significantly from his experience and his knowledge, and he benefits from me, and then we go forth and achieve based on that union of information when we could share it with everybody. And to his point, maybe you'll find something in it that's useful for you that's going to help you grow.
But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we hope you have had a good time. Like we said, bro, listen. This was supposed to be a little test run for the pilot. We ain't got our clothes on like the way we wanted to.
We'll wear them next time.
Hey, next time, next time. But definitely hope you all appreciate this conversation. Hope you all learned something. And most importantly, please like, subscribe, comment, and tell anyone who's anyone about the show. Because not necessarily for ratings, so we'd appreciate them. But at the same time, we want to get y'all feedback. Because maybe we said something that was off or sounded wrong, or you had questions about it. I don't know. Like I know people might have question marks on something I said. So please share your thoughts and tell us. I know for a fact, I promise you, I will gladly reach out. And Reggie's pretty open himself too. And again, it's just two guys having genuine conversation from different backgrounds. So, but before we do close, I do want to say, Reggie, I appreciate you because fun fact, he did challenge me when we were fishing, and he was like, I mean, yeah, if you're gonna call me, go ahead. And if you know Reggie, that's more of like, I'm doubting it a little bit. So I was like, nah, I'm gonna go ahead and make sure I call this man next day, next week type vibes. And I did, and now we're here. This is really motivating because I gotta go help a friend move after this. And I promise you, I'm trying to think, how can I avoid that? To go get some more recordings done. Like this is exciting, bro. This is
Get the hustle on.
exactly. So Reggie, like from the bottom of my heart, just over the years, I appreciate you as a person, and I just wanted to make sure I had it on camera. I know we had like a flowers segment, quote unquote, to possibly talk about, but like I wanted to make sure I gave you your flowers and say thank you from the bottom of my heart. So I appreciate this.
Thank you. All right. Well, on that note, in the words of Russell Simmons,
Hey,
thank you very much. God bless.
hope you have a good one.